Sadashiva-Samadhamam Shankaracharya-Madhyamam Asmadacharya-Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karvavahai Tejasvina Vadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya.
Morning.
So we are on the 8th sloka, chapter number 8. So let us chant that. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Abhyasa Yoga Yuktena Chetasa Nanyagamina Paramam Purusham Divyam Yati Parthanu Chintayan. Okay, so I'm just muting all. So look at the words. Hey Partha, Anuchintayan Purusham. Anuchintayan means thinking of the Lord. The word Chintayan means thinking. So thinking of the Lord. The word Anu has to be taken as following. So in accordance with the Shastram. So you have to think of the Lord not as you want to, not as your mind tells you to, but as the Shastram defines the Lord. In that manner, you have to think about the Lord. Chetasa, with a mind which is Nanya Gamina, undistracted mind. And how will you get this undistracted mind? Abhyasa Yoga Yuktena, by constant practice of Abhyasa. Abhyasa is practice. And here we can think of it as Shastric practice as well as the meditation practice. And if you do that, Yati Paramam Divyam, you will reach the Divine Lord. So remember, one thing here we have to always recall is that this chapter, we are talking about Saguna Upasaka. Why is that so? It's a chapter about a person who is Upasaka, and what happens to an Upasaka who doesn't come to Jnanam. That is what is being mentioned. So, Saguna Upasaka and Abhyasa Yoga Yuktena. So, Abhyasa here is meditation, Dhyanam. And here is where the beauty of Shankara's commentary comes in. He defines this Abhyasa in his Bhashya. It's a very beautiful definition. So, I will read it out for you. So, Mai. So, thinking of me. Mai is me. And here, of course, you have to remember that Krishna is talking as Hiranyagarbha, Lord Brahmaji. So, he says, Mai Chitta Samarpanam Vishaya Bhute. So, Chitta Samarpanam, fixing the mind on me alone, Vishaya Bhute, that is the subject in your mind must be me alone. Chitta Samarpanam Vishaya Bhute. The subject of your thoughts must be Hiranyagarbha. And further, how? Tulya Pratyaya. Tulya means identical or same thought. Pratyaya is thought. Tulya Pratyaya means should be one thought, same thought. And Avritti. Avritti means a flow, a continuous flow. So, Tulya Pratyaya Avrittihi, a continuous flow of one thought, which is what? Saguna Ishvara. Ishvara Vritti should be there. So, Mai Chitta Samarpanam Vishaya Bhute Tulya Pratyaya Avritti Lakshana. The indication of this meditation is that after surrendering your mind, yourself to me, fixing your mind on me alone, ensuring that only I occupy your mind. Your thoughts should be one continuous flow of Saguna Ishvara Vritti, that I should be the object of your meditation. And then he adds, Vilakshana Pratyaya Anantaritaha. Anantaritaha means that which is not causing an obstruction. What is not causing an obstruction? Vilakshana Pratyaya. Vilakshana means different from, Pratyaya is thought. So Antaritaha Vilakshana Pratyaya. That Saguna Ishvara thought, Tulya Pratyaya Avritti, should not be obstructed by any other thought which is different from Saguna Vritti thought. Right? So very beautiful definition. Number one, you should surrender to me. That is, your mind should be fixed on me alone. Your mind should be occupied by my thought alone. And very specifically, it's just not one thought, it's a continuous flow of thoughts. Tulya Pratya Avrittihi, continuous flow of Ishvara thought. And such a thought should be not obstructed by any non-Ishvara thought. So any Anatma thought should not be coming. Right? Of course, as I said earlier, we have to remember that these verses are being addressed to the Karma Yogi, who is in triangular format. Okay. And now that we have reached the 8th chapter, we have finished all the major teaching, we are all supposed to be in what format? Binary format. Okay. And therefore, whether this chapter or these verses are relevant to you or not, who will decide?
Us only.
Us, depending on
Only
our
us.
progress.
Depending on your progress, you have to decide whether this chapter is relevant to you or not. Okay, but anyway, the chapter is there, and therefore chapter has to be done. Right? At least you should know, for the sake of explaining to others who are not in the binary format, what will happen. And therefore, these chapter verses are being addressed to a Saguna Brahma Upasaka, who is always in triangular format. So Ishvara, Jagat, and Jiva, all three are there. Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara. Okay, so and we are of course supposed to be in binary format. I'm using the word supposed. So assuming that we are in binary format, the verses are not relevant to me, but I should know about it. And therefore he says Chetasa. Chetasa means with a mind which is soaked. Soaked in what? Soaked in the Lord Brahmaji thought. Lord Brahmaji juice, it is being soaked. And such a soaked mind, na anya gaminaha, that mind is not capable of traveling anywhere else. Means it is not capable of entertaining any other thought. And therefore, what he is trying to say that a very strong Dvaita Bhakti, dualistic Bhakti, what does it do? It weakens your Ahankara and Mamakara. So Krishna is saying here that you soak your mind in Saguna Ishvara Vritti, Saguna Ishvara thought, and that mind is so soaked, it becomes very heavy, and therefore it is not capable of traveling anywhere else. Which means that this very strong devotion, remember it is Dvaita Bhakti only because Ishvara is different from you over here. You are worshipping Saguna Ishvara, you are the Jiva, the worshipper. Saguna Ishvara is the worshipped. So there is strong Dvaita Bhakti, but that strong Dvaita Bhakti, it weakens your Ahankara and Mamakara. Both Ahankara and Mamakara are an obstruction to moksha. The important thing is here, weakens. It does not remove. Okay. So removal of Ahankara, Mamakara is possible only through knowledge, only through Jnanam. And this, I will again and again keep driving this point throughout the Gita into our heads, because it's a common understanding, the common, most people commonly think of the bhakti as being capable of giving moksha, but it is not. Because Ahankara, Mamakara removal is not possible. Removal is not possible through bhakti. Even the strongest bhakti will not remove Ahankara and Mamakara. It will definitely weaken, right? and therefore prepare you for jnana. The idea is that we should carefully understand that bhakti by itself, however strong it is, will not give me jnanam automatically, directly give me jnanam. What will bhakti do? It will prepare my mind. It will give me a guru. The guru will give me tattvamasi, and the tattvamasi upadesha. It will give me jnanam. Jnanam will give me moksha. Right? Right. The only difference is that if you are a very strongly, advanced dualistic bhakta, where the bhakti is strong, then you are advanced bhakta, right? For you, the duration of Shravanam, Mananam, Nidhyasanam may be only very short. But for most people, where bhakti is not strong enough, Shravanam, Mananam, Nidhyasanam can go on for years together and sometimes for lifetimes. Right? Therefore, because of a person who is very strong in bhakti, for him the Jnana Yoga pursuit, the time frame is so short that it seems like he has not really gone to Jnanam at all. And therefore we think that dualistic bhakti has given him moksha, which is not really true. Dualistic bhakti has given him Chitta Shuddhi. Chitta Shuddhi has given him Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga has given him moksha. But the Jnana Yoga time frame has been so short that it becomes as if not visible to us. In the whole structure where we see him moving, we think he has moved straight from bhakti to moksha. And here Shankaracharya is making it very clear that you have to go through the regular route of karma yoga, upasana yoga, shravanam, mananam, nidhyasanam. And therefore he says anu chintayan. Chintayan means contemplation. Anu means in accordance with the words of the Shastram. So when you listen to the words of the Shastram through your teacher, your mind is following the teaching, but the teaching is always in accordance with the Shastram. This is Anuchintanam. What about the teacher? Obviously, teacher is also engaged in Anuchintanam because his words are also based on Shastram alone. And what is the object of this meditation? He says, Paramam Purusham Divyam. The Lord who is the Paramam Purushaha, the highest reality. Paramam, Shankara defines as Nir Atishayam, the highest. Atishayam means something which can be compared. Nir Atishayam means which has no comparison at all. Right? So Purusham is known as this Paramam Purusham Divyam. It is the highest Lord. And the word Purusha itself, we all know, has two meanings. One is Puri Shete iti Purushaha. Puri means the residence, the body, the city. Shete means dwells. So Puri Shete, the one who dwells in the body, he is the Purushaha. The indweller in all bodies is called Purushaha. In all bodies means Atma dwells in all bodies. Therefore, Atma is called Purushaha. Another definition is Purayati Sarvam iti Purushaha. Purayati means spreads. So, fills up, all pervading. So, both definitions indicate Atma, one who is present in all bodies and one who fills up the entire world. Purayati Sarvam, or the all pervading, and you add them together, the all pervading Atma who is dwelling in each body, he is Paramam, the absolute reality. And then there's the word Divyam. Divyam is divine, Chaitanya Swarupam. So Shankara in his commentary says you have to take this Divyam as Bhagavan who is being invoked upon in Surya Mandalam, in the solar disk, right? That is because in the Upasanas in Vedic literature, when you invoke Ishvara, the locus of invocation is usually the Surya Mandalam. So you are invoking Ishvara in Surya Mandalam, and therefore it says Divyam can be taken as Ishvara or Bhagavan who is being invoked in the Surya Mandalam. And what happens to this particular Upasaka? Yati. He merges into that Lord. Thinking of Ishvara, Saguna Ishvara, he reaches Ishvara. Means Krama Muktim. Like he reaches means through Krama Mukti. Which means what? Because of his punyam and his upasana, he goes to Brahmaloka, there he gets knowledge, and then because of the knowledge, he becomes free. So it is, and that sequence is called Krama Mukti because there is a sequence. Krama Mukti is different from Jivan Mukti because Jivan Mukti you get while in this body, in this world. But for a person who has not got Jivan Mukti because he has not come to Jnanam in this world, this alternative route is there suggested by Krishna. He says you can, as a Upasaka, you can go to Brahmaloka, there you can learn and there you can get Mukti. Since there is Brahmaloka in the middle, there is a sequence and therefore Krama Mukti. Krama means sequence. Okay. Now we look at the 9th sloka. The meter changes, of course, so we will chant. Kavim Puranam Anushasitaram
Kavim
Puranamanushasaram
Anoraniyam Samanusmaredyah Sarvasya Dhataramachintya Rupam Adityavarnam Tamasah Parasthat. Okay. So, Yaha Anusmaret. So that you have to break up. Anoraniyam Yasam Anusmaret. Yaha Anusmaret. One who remembers the Lord. Anusmaret. Smaranam is remembering. Anusmaret remembers the Lord. Again, Anu is there. A very important word. Anu means remembers the Lord as in the same description which he has learnt from Shravanam. Right? So, Yaha Anusmaret, or same description as given in the Veda, in the Shastra. One who thinks of the Lord at the time of death, obviously. Yaha Anusmaret. And who is this Lord? Kavim. Kavim here is not poet. It means the one who is omniscient, the all-knowing one. And Puranam. Puranam is ancient one. Anusha Sitaram, the ruler of all. Aniyasam Anoho. So that breakup is coming from Anoraniyam Asam. So Anoho Aniyasam, who is subtler than the subtlest atom. Sarvasya Dhataram, the supporter of all. Achintya Rupam, who cannot be conceived by the intellect. Aditya Varnam, who is brightly shining like the sun. Tamasah Parasthat, who is beyond your ignorance, who reaches beyond the ignorance. And you have to add here, he reaches, this person, this sadhaka, he reaches that particular Lord. So in English, if you want to put it, one who remembers the Lord at the time of death, he attains this Lord, he becomes one with this Lord, who is all-knowing, who is the ruler of all, who is subtler than the atom, who is the sustainer of all, who cannot be comprehended, who is beyond ignorance, and who is bright and shining like the sun, effulgent like the sun. So this is the description of the Lord who is to be remembered by the Saguna Upasaka at the time of his death. Right? And Krishna is giving some descriptions of the Ishvara so that it is easy for the Upasaka to remember that Lord and his last moments. So the words are there. Kavim Puranam Anusha Sitaram Anoho Aniyam Sarvasya Dhataram Achintya Rupam Aditya Varnam Tamasah Parasthat. Right? So from this very definition, it is obvious that Shastra expects that the Nishkama Upasaka must be aware of the scriptures. Why? Otherwise, he will not know all these attributes. Okay. Now, remember that we said that this particular Upasaka has not come to Jnanam. Right? That is why he is talking about Krama Mukti. And therefore, how do you reconcile this particular idea that Nishkama Upasaka must be in touch with the scriptures? Anybody?
He's studying, but not really grasp the whole meaning. But he needs to study more.
Anybody else? Remember that Mananam is a very important part of your study. And therefore,
So
you
he,
must keep asking questions. That's why I'm asking. This is a statement made here. By giving all these adjectives, Krishna is indicating that the Upasaka must be in touch with the scriptures. At the same time, we are saying that this is Saguna Upasaka. He has not come to Jnanam. So what is the connection?
Acharya-ji, it may be because he knows the scriptures through the Purva Mimamsa or the Karma Kanda, but because he's heard from his ancestors or otherwise he's seen it around. But he has not come to the Upanishad or the Vedanta part of it.
Excellent. So all these descriptions are there in the Karma Kanda part, because when you describe Ishvara, you are describing in terms of upasanas, right? So whenever you see any Karma Kanda part, in fact, when you come to Upanishads like Chandogya and all that, you will find that there are several upasanas being prescribed. For each upasana, there is a description of the Lord who is upasyam for that particular upasana. And therefore, this is very clear that this upasaka has studied Karma Kanda, and therefore he knows what is the nature of the Lord as described in Karma Kanda. And therefore, when he is on his deathbed, he must remember in accordance with that nature. Unless he is in touch with the scriptures, he will not be familiar with all the attributes. Okay, and Shankara defines Kavihi. So Kavi normally means poet, right? So Shankara describes Kavi as saying Sarvagnya. Sarvagnya means the all-knowing one, the one who can, in fact, he uses the word Kranta Darshinaha. Kranta Darshinaha means the one who can see beyond. Kranta means beyond. The one who can see beyond. Kranta Darshihi. And what is beyond? Beyond means beyond the present. Beyond the present is what? The past and the future. Therefore, Kavihi is Kranta Darshinaha, the one who can see the past, the present, and the future, which means Sarvagnaha, omniscient, all-knowing. So that is the definition of Kavi, the one who is all-knowing, omniscient one, Sarvagnaha. Then Puranam, of course, means the most ancient one, the one who was never created. Ancient here has to be taken as never created, one who has no beginning, who is uncreated. Then Anushasitaram. So Anushasita is the one who gives the karma phala to all the jivas, not randomly, according to the laws of karma. Therefore, karma phala data. And the same Bhagavan, the same Ishvara, not only does he give karma phalam not only does he administer the law of karma, he also administers the physical laws of the universe. And therefore, you have to take Anushasitaram as the one who is the cause of the existence of all physical and moral laws. The one because of whom these laws are there and the administrator of those laws. So, Shankara writes as Sarvasya Jagataha Prashasasitaram. Prashasitaram means, Prashasita actually means controller, governor. So he says that this Ishvara is the governor of the entire universe. He not only controls the laws of karma, he controls the physical laws also. The very existence of the universe and its functioning is dependent upon this Ishvara. So all definitions, Anoho. Anoho means Anu is an atom. So Anoho Aniyasam. It has been taken as subtler than the subtlest atom, smaller than the smallest atom. So again, Indriya Agocharam, the one who is not available for any sense organs, who is beyond Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, right? Now, here we have to note something very carefully, that Kavi is the one who is omniscient. And therefore, is it Saguna Brahman or Nirguna Brahman?
Saguna.
Saguna Brahman. But Aniyasam, Anoho Aniyasam, subtler and subtlest, not available to sense organs. Is that Saguna Brahman or Nirguna Brahman?
Nirguna.
Right? So these little things you and I won't even know, but Shankara points it out. So Kavim is Saguna Brahman and Anoho Aniyam is Nirguna Brahman. The adjective Puranam is applicable to both, because Saguna Brahman, Puranam means without beginning. So that adjective is applicable to both Saguna and Nirguna Brahman, because Saguna Brahman also has no beginning. Nirguna Brahman also has no beginning. Anusha Sitaram, is it Saguna Brahman or Nirguna Brahman? What does Anusha Sitaram mean? We just explained.
Controller of the karma and the physical laws of the physical
Is it Saguna
universe.
Brahman or Nirguna Brahman?
Saguna Brahman.
Karma Phaladata is
Saguna Brahman. Okay. But what we have to extract from here is that even though we are attributing the Saguna form to the Lord,
He's actually.
basically it's the Lord is Nirguna in nature. That you have to remember. Saguna attributes are basically for our own understanding, because the formless reality we cannot comprehend, so we want a form. And therefore, Saguna Brahman is very much present in the scriptures, but behind Saguna Brahman is the real Brahman, which is Nirguna Brahman. Saguna Brahman is Mithya alone, right? That you must remember. Okay. Now, Sarvasya Dhataram, the one who is the substratum, the support of the entire creation. Why? Because creation is born from him only. He is the Upadana Karanam. And since he is Upadana Karanam, without that Upadana Karanam, the creation cannot be present. Therefore, Sarvasya Dhataram, substratum, support of entire creation. Right? He is basically Sadrupam, Satta, the one who is the very existence principle itself. And Shankara in his commentary says that is okay. That is one interpretation which is correct, that he is taken as the very Upadana Karanam. But he says can be also taken as the one who allocates karma to various jivas. So he gives a very, very nice word, Vibhaktaram. In different ways, he allocates karma to various jivas, depending upon what they have done. Then Achintya Rupam, the one who cannot be, and one who is beyond our thoughts, the one who cannot be objectified by the mind, the one who cannot be conceived by the mind. Why? The reason is mind can only visualize attributes. Mind is instrument meant to study only attributes. Why so? Why do you
It
say mind is
coordinates-
instrument? Sorry?
It coordinates the Jnanendriyas.
It coordinates the Jnanendriyas. All inputs to the mind are provided only by Jnanendriyas. Jnanendriyas can recognize only attributes, Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Gandha, Tvak, right? And therefore the mind can operate only with attributes. Since the mind can only operate with gunas, something nirguna is not a field which the mind can touch, and therefore mind cannot conceive of nirguna Brahman. I would request you all to keep your mics off because you are disturbing the others. Okay. Another reason is, of course, that Ishvara is the very subject. You are the very subject. You are Ishvara himself. And you cannot objectify yourself. A subject can never be the object. Right? So these are reasons why the mind cannot appreciate Ishvara, conceive of Ishvara. And Shankara says that this idea of Achintya Rupam, is not applicable just to Nirguna, because most of us would say Nirguna Brahman is Achintya Rupam. But Shankara says that applicable to both Saguna also. Right. When you say Nirguna Brahman cannot be conceived, it is simple to understand because Nirguna Brahman doesn't have a form and therefore you cannot imagine it. When you say Saguna Brahman cannot be conceived, you cannot use the same argument because the moment you say Saguna, it means there is a form. And therefore, it's easy to understand that Nirguna Brahman has no gunas, has no form, therefore Achintya Rupam. But how do you say that Saguna Brahman is Achintya Rupam? Because Saguna Brahma has got a form. What could be the answer? Come, you're all advanced students. Anybody?
Because we can say Saguna Brahman is also infinite.
Very good. So an infinite entity cannot be conceived because to conceive of something means you have to be able to conceive the boundaries. Therefore, in case of Nirguna Brahman, Rupam is not there. Therefore, it is not possible to imagine, conceive. In case of Saguna Brahman, Rupam is either infinite or so extraordinary that your mind is not able to conceive of it. In either ways, Achintya Rupam. Okay. And that idea is important because it's not conveyed anywhere else. You have to take it from here, from this particular explanation, that the mind is limited in nature. Therefore, it cannot conceive of either Saguna Brahman or Nirguna Brahman. Then Aditya Varanam, the one who is bright like the sun, the one who is the illuminator of everything like the sun. So Varnaha here, normally Varnaha can be taken as color also, but Varnaha here means brilliance. And what is Ishvara's brilliance? Can we say, because Ishvara is invoked in Surya Mandala, can we say that Ishvara's brilliance is like that of the Surya Mandala, the sun, the what you call solar disk? No, because the brilliance of the solar disk is Anatma, Maya, and subject to visual perception. But the brilliance of Ishvara is in the form of consciousness alone, not subject to visual perception. So in the scripture, you will find that when the reference is to the brilliance of the sun, then they will say it is Bhautika Jyotihi. Bhautika means what? Of the elements. Bhautika Jyotihi. And while the brilliance of Ishvara is referred to as Abhautika Jyotihi. So small little thing, ideas which you might find when you read the scriptures in original. And therefore, this brilliance of the sun is Nitya Chaitanya Prakashaka. Brilliance of the consciousness principle, the all illuminating consciousness principle, and therefore only the last two words, tamasah parastat, beyond darkness. It is not affected by darkness. And why is this statement being made? Because there is a difference between the sunlight and Atma. The brilliance of the sun and the brilliance of Atma has this, very subtle difference. The sun can never reveal darkness to you, but Atma can reveal darkness to you. Therefore, Atma is superior light because it can illuminate darkness also. When sun comes, the sunlight comes, darkness cannot remain, and therefore sunlight can never reveal to you darkness. But the Atma, it can reveal to you the darkness also, right? Of course, in this context, the word darkness can be taken as moha andhakara, also the darkness of ignorance. Okay, so you can also take it as tamasah parastat. Ishvara is beyond all ignorance also. Also, you can take it as Ishvara's consciousness principle, the illuminating power, is superior to the illuminating power of the sun, because sun can illuminate everything excepting darkness, while Atma can illuminate everything, including darkness. Then Anusmaret. Anusmaret is the Nishkama Upasaka who repeatedly remembers, not only throughout his life, but at the time of his death also he remembers. So Smaranam is possible when you know something. Smaranam means remembrance. Anu here means, as I explained before also, Anu here means in keeping with the Shastram. Therefore, remembering what you have heard about Ishvara during Shravanam. Right? Anusmaret, whoever remembers. Now, if you have noticed, there is no verb here. Yaha Anusmaret means whoever remembers. Whoever remembers what? Ishvara in this particular manner, as described in the Shastram. Whoever remembers that Ishvara at the time of his death, what happens to him? This sloka doesn't say. What should you do in such a case?
Connect with the previous one.
Connect with the previous one. Yati Parthanu Chintaya. He attains the Lord. He gets Krama Mukti. Okay. So I'd like to point out that there is a clear distinction between Upasana and Nididhyasanam. Of course, you're all advanced students, you already know. But I just want to point it out here because here we are talking about Upasana. And remember that in Upasana, the object of meditation is who?
Saguna Ishvara.
Saguna Ishvara. And the object of meditation is Saguna Ishvara. What is the phalam of this Upasana?
Finite.
No.
Chitta Shuddhi.
No. This is Upasana which is taking him to Brahma Loka. Right? So Upasana, Upasyam is one thing. Upasyam is Saguna Ishvara. Upasaka is the meditator. It is Saguna Dhyanam because he is meditating upon Saguna Ishvara as he has learnt from his scriptures. Therefore, Upasyam Ishvara is different from Phalam, which is Brahma Loka. It's a very crucial difference. In Upasana, the Upasyam, object of meditation, is always different from the Phalam of Upasana Phalam. In this case, Upasana Phalam is Brahma Loka, while Upasyam is Saguna Ishvara. Therefore, by meditating upon the Upasyam, which is Saguna Ishvara, this sadhaka, this Upasaka, he goes to Brahma Loka. It's a very clear difference. Okay, Upasyam is different from Upasana Phalam. However, why I am saying this, in Nididhyasanam, there is no difference between Upasyam and Upasana Phalam. The one who meditates on Nirguna Ishvara, what is the Phalam? He becomes Nirguna Ishvara. Therefore, in Nididhyasanam, there is no divide between the Upasyam and the Upasana Phalam. In Upasana, there is a divide. Upasyam is always different from the Upasana Phalam. In Nididhyasanam, the Dhyatr, the meditator, becomes the Dheyam, the meditated. And therefore, really there is no meditator. Because meditator is ultimately nothing else than the object of meditation. Therefore, the meditator vanishes. He is eliminated. That's the idea being pointed out here. In Upasana, Jiva and Ishvara are two distinct entities. In Nididhyasanam, this difference is not there. So, then comes a good question. Should I do Nididhyasanam or not? What is the answer to that? Who should do Nididhyasanam? Or when should I do Nididhyasanam? Whenever whatever you think you are experiencing is different from whatever you have learnt. So when my experience is different from my understanding, Understanding, remember, is always in terms of Shastram. Therefore, whenever I experience something, and to me that appears to contradict what I have learned, that is the time to do Nididhyasana. Right? Shastram says what? You are Ananda Swarupam. And if you don't think you are Ananda Swarupam, if you think you are angry, if you are sad, then remember that Shastram is not wrong. What you have learned is you are Ananda Swarupam. But you are saying, I am sad. So you are making a judgment based on your mind. Right? And therefore, in spite of knowing that I am Ananda Swarupam, if I don't see that I am Ananda, the problem lies where? The problem lies with my assimilation of the knowledge. I have not owned up that knowledge that I am Ananda Swarupam. Right? You cannot say at this stage of life, I'm saying that you're all done Shravanam, Mananam, and some Nididhyasanam also. So you cannot say that you do not know you are Brahman. Right? I'm saying you cannot say that you do not know you are Brahman because you have learned that, because you know that you are Brahman. However, the contradiction here is that I cannot say I am Brahman. I cannot say I don't know Brahman because I have studied and understood. At the same time, I cannot say I am Brahman because I have problems. And the moment I say I've got a problem, moment I say I am angry, I am contradicting the angerless nature of Brahman. And therefore, what is the understanding? What is the conclusion? That there is some mental obstacle which I have, which is obstructing the owning up of the fact that I am Brahman. So there are two things. One is knowing I am Brahman at the intellectual level. One is owning up that I am Brahman at the subconscious level. The intellectual knowledge that I am Brahman has not, percolated into my subconsciousness. And therefore, intellectually, I know I am Brahman, but I feel I have problems. That feeling comes from the subconscious. And that means there is some obstacle, some intellectual obstacle, which is standing in the way of my owning up the fact that I am Brahman. These intellectual obstacles are viparita bhavana, habitual, thinking patterns which I have developed over my lifetime, over hundreds of lifetimes. And the way of addressing these patterns, way of examining these patterns and eliminating these patterns, for that, the main instrument which I have is Nididhyasana. When I do Nididhyasanam, you might say, do is a verb. So is Nididhyasanam a karma? No, it's not. Nididhyasanam, even though you are doing it, is not a karma. Why? Because Nididhyasanam simply means that you are contemplating upon the teaching. The teaching is showing you that you are already Brahman. It's an established fact. You are Brahman is an established fact. And by this process of contemplation or doing Nididhyasanam, nothing new is being produced. Therefore, it is not a karma. Do you understand the argument? Why is Nididhyasanam not a karma? Okay, let's go back to the 4 types of karma. What are they? Do you remember? Anybody?
Te karma nimat.
No, not that.
Okay.
Anybody? Utpadya?
Karma can create something. Utpatti,
Vikarya,
Vikarya.
Samskarya.
Samskarya, and Apya. Okay, so there are 4 types of karma. Karma, actually, any karma can be divided into one of these 4 types. What is that? Utpadya, karma produces something. Vikarya, that karma which modifies or changes something. Samskarya, that karma which cleans or purifies something. Apya, that karma which helps you to reach something. Right? Now you examine Nididhyasanam. If you have to call Nididhyasanam as a karma, what is the first one? Does it produce anything? No, it doesn't produce Brahman because you are already Brahman. You are Siddhavastu. Established fact is that you are Brahman. So Utpadyam is not there. It cannot be called karma under Utpadyam category. Does it modify anything? Does it change you from Jiva into Brahman? No, because you are already Brahman. Therefore, Vikaryam, modification or change is not there. Does it clean anything? Were you earlier impure Brahman and now you have been cleaned up and made into a pure Brahman? No, Brahman is not subject to any change at all. Therefore, there is no question of being cleaned up. Samskaryam is not there. Did you reach Brahman? Apyam? No, because you're already Brahman. There is no question of reaching. Therefore, this action of Nididhyasanam, even though you are doing it, is not producing something, is not modifying something, is not purifying something, is not helping you to reach something. And therefore, Jnana Phalam or Nididhyasanam doesn't fall under any of these 4. It is not a karma at all. A very important argument to remember when we talk about karma. Any questions?
Lots.
If you have, please ask.
Acharya-ji, you used an example of MP3 player yesterday. So in that example, it could be extended to this and said that the MP3 player which was playing the MP3 record was sounding like noise to somebody, and then after Nididhyasanam, it became music.
Actually, there I think we used it simply to point out that Veda by itself cannot produce any knowledge unless it is, what they call, handled by a competent teacher. Right? So you could say that if you just listen to Veda, it can just fall on you and like, rainwater falling on a duck, it can just flow away. Or if you are sadhana chatushtayam, then it can soak into you and make you fertile.
Yes. And Acharya-ji, I have a doubt in this 9th verse.
Okay.
So if Brahman is achintya rupam, then why is Krishna asking in the previous verse to do anuchintayan
Okay.
and anusmara?
Right. Now, that's a very good question. If Brahman cannot be described, then what are we doing studying Shastra? Right? Shastram is all description only, isn't it? The question is that what is available to us to communicate? Only words. At the same time, we are saying words are not sufficient to communicate. So whenever you hear these kind of sentences, that number 1, words cannot be used to communicate Brahman, and number 2, that only through Shastram can you learn Brahman. Shastram is words only, right? Remember that it is always indirect communication. And therefore, you cannot communicate Brahman as an object. But by negating other things, whatever is left over is Brahman. That is how you communicate. That is what is called here, when you say Anuchintayan, Shastram basically doesn't ever tell you what is Brahman. Shastram just says, remove everything else, what is left is Brahman. So that's what is being talked about. That you understand, that is why you start with Anatma. Because Anatma, you are faced with Anatma the moment you open your eyes. You start with Anatma and slowly you understand what part of Anatma doesn't really represent Brahman. You negate that, neti, na iti, not this, not this, not this. Ultimately, whatever is left, what is left? The observer is left. That observer consciousness, witness consciousness is Brahman.
Right. Acharya ji, may I ask another question?
Yeah, of course.
So in the verse 7, Ma manusmara yudhyacha, when Krishna said that at the time of dropping of your physical body, if you're the one who's remembering me in the manner yatha shastra, so normally a normal person who has not studied shastra through a guru and just is following Ishta Devata puja or following the parents or family, what happens to that person?
He gets punyam, that's about all. He doesn't go to Brahma Loka.
Okay, so he's talking, Krishna is talking only of Krama Mukti.
Here it is Krama Mukti.
Yeah,
the
the Shukla.
Upasaka who has studied the Shastra.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Spandana?
A slight digression based on our discussion on the types of karma just now.
Yeah.
We said somewhere that Jnanam can only be obtained through Shravanam, not reading or anything. Is it based on the same argument? I forget the exact argument we say for that.
The
There's something
argument
also about
that, Jnanam doesn't require your willpower. That is the argument. Any action requires willpower, but Shravanam is not considered action because in Shravanam, what is required is that your Indriyas are open in working condition and the mind is focused, which is part of sadhana chatushtayam. Once you have got your attention span over there, that is, your mind is behind your ears and you are sitting there, there is no willpower required on your part, because whatever words are being uttered by the teacher, they are creating that knowledge in your mind. Therefore, knowledge is being created without the use of a willpower. Therefore, we say that jnanam is not karma. Studying is because you're using your eyes and reading and all that. And based on that, something is happening. But here, the words are falling in your ears. All you are doing is you are sitting with a focused attention. And the words are doing the job. That is why we say pramanam does its job.
correct. However, mananam requires willpower.
Mananam requires willpower because something has not been understood. Remember that for 100% sadhana chatushtayam person, mananam and nididhyasanam are not required.
I see.
So we are talking about somebody who is like all of us, okay? None of us are even 50% sadhana chatushtayam when we came to Vedanta. And therefore, all three are required for us.
Thank you.
Okay, if no more questions are there, we'll close for the day. Om Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Om Tat Sat Om Namah Shivaya. Thanks for my patience.
Namah Shivaya.
Om.
Thank you, Acharya.